everyone, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for having me. Let me introduce myself to you. My name is Dini Turipanam Alamanda. I am the co-author of this article with the title The Resolution of Ojek Online versus Traditional Public Transportation Conflict. Let's get started. Nowadays, the demand for people mobility is getting higher. The breakthrough of online application-based transportation innovation such as Gojek, combining transportation with communications technology through smartphone, requires the people to decide which transportation is most compatible to their need. The presence of something innovative in many areas can get resistance, so can the presence of ojek online or online taxi bike in Garut Regency getting resistance from conventional transportation, particularly ojek pangkalan or base taxi bike and city public transportation or angkot ending up with a conflict. Thus, this research aims to provide an alternative solutions by means of organizing conflict mapping, conflict resolution process, and conflict resolution. This research employed a qualitative approach with ex post fact method, revealing the facts concerning the conflict occurring in ojek online versus traditional public transportation case. Furthermore, exploration was conducted using cross-sectional approach. Techniques of collecting data used were observation and interview. The observation was conducting using observation guide as the research instrument to draw conclusion about the meaning from respondents' point of view on occurrence, event, or process observed. In-depth interview was conducted using interview guide with 8 informants selected and capable of providing data relevant to conflict mapping process, conflict resolving conflict, and the solution to conflict occurring in Garut Regency. The informant including representative of Garut Regency government as the informant 1, the ojek pangkalan driver as the informant 2, the ojek online driver as the informant 3, the chairperson of ojek pangkalan community as the informant 4, the chairperson of public transportation organization or organda, the next chairperson of ojek online community, the representative of Garut Resource Police, and community using public transportation mode. So there are 8 respondents, and the time period of the research is in 2018 to 2019. Considering the result interview with the informants, conflict occurring due to the presence of ojek online in Garut Regency is presented on the slide. So in the 2018, there are 3 issues, including mistreated, a sweeping issue, and massive strike. And in the 2019, there are also 3 issues, including robbing, hitting, and massive strike. Okay, next. 4 issues potentially become the source of the conflict: ojek online behavior, and then competition for passengers, and infringement against area and transportation business chains. The competition for passenger issue is the most prominent one. The presence of the ojek online is considered as a rival in earning money by ojek pangkalan and city transportation. And this competition results because the income of the ojek pangkalan and city transportation decreases. The source of conflict occurring is indeed unsurprising, yes. The first, the behavior of not appreciating others result in anger or loses the relationship. Similarly, in relationship to the reason of business competition, the difference between individuals in the term of opinion, objective, desire, and distance concerning the object disputed. In social reality, there is no individual with shared character, so that these different characters contribute to the rise of social conflict. Actually, the infringement of the area is not always committed deliberately by object online, but also due to factor of ignorance that the area passed through belongs to regions. The issues of online transportation conflict in Garut Regency are discussed now. Firstly, sweeping is committed by Ojek Online Group against Ojek Pangkalan. The sweeping action committed by Ojek Online is untrue because sweeping should be conducted by local law enforcers. Secondly, massive strike was performed by public transportation or angkot performers. This condition occurred not only in Garut but also in other area in Indonesia, and almost in all in which the public transportation is usually a dependable transportation mode to local people before the presence of ojek online. Thirdly, the next issue is promise denial. Yes, ojek pangkalan drives decide on which areas ojek online drivers cannot pick up passengers or called red zones. The banner containing the prohibition of ojek online operation are posted in each of bases. Not merely because of ojek pangkalan drivers dislike with ojek online, but also because of the promise denied by the applicator management. Finally, the issue triggering conflict is ojek online tariff cheaper than ojek pangkalan and city transportation. It makes people as the consumers preferring using ojek online for short distance trip. Some parties are putatively engaged in conflict between OJOL and OPANG in Garut Regency. And the informant 3 stated that ojek online driver, ojek pangkalan drivers, applicators management, and police are 4 parties entering into conflict circle. Respect to fellows with same profession is very important because conflict between ojek online and ojek pangkalan is often due to bad attitude. Measure or action taken to resolve the conflict occurring is to see the attitude of opponent. The striking action generates ojek conflict in Garut Regency. The next is intervention. Government has released a regulation about OJOL on March 11, 2018 in Minister of Transportation Regulation number 12 of 2019 about the protection of motorcycle using safety use for community interest. Through this law, ojek online also have operational foundation. On May 2019, Minister of Transportation officially governs ojek online tariff as included in Minister of Transportation Decree about the guideline for the calculation of application motorcycle use service costs used for community interest. This regulation is published to answer ojek online drivers' complaint often. This regulation is published to answer the online drivers' complaint, often demonstrated in their protest to require the developer application and the government to determine the rational tariff. In the regulation, for example, three different tariff zonations are applied: lower limit tariff, upper limit tariff, and minimum service costs are applied to the three zonation. The increase in ojek online tariff indeed relieves Organda and ojek pangkalan's anger. However, on the other hand, it affects the community economy significantly. This tariff increase in long term can worsen to the condition because people will likely switch to other transportation station and leave ojek online. It also leads to ojek online partners' difficulty to get passenger in long term. Okay, so the summary of the conflict between ojek online and ojek pangkalan in Garut Regency will be presented in the next slide. So here the result. There are two parties involved, yeah, ojek online community and the ojek pangkalan community and Organda in the same parties. So the suggestion, the first, ojek online is prohibited from operating or picking up passenger from Garut Terminal territorial area between Guntur Melati Street, Guntur Sari Street, and Merdeka Street. Ojek online is prohibited from wearing attribute when coming into conflict vulnerable area including Guntur Garut Terminal, Banyuresmi, Karangpawitan, and Margawati. And the third, the ojek online is prohibited from operating in the area forementioned from 7 p.m. to 5 a.m. So here the conclusion. Conflict mapping represents a problem encountered by those entering into conflict. The mapping of conflict between ojek online and traditional public transportation in Garut Regency is made through 7 elements of conflict consisting of, firstly, conflict source including ojek online's behavior, competition for passenger, infringement of area, and transportation business chains. Police as mediator imposes sanctions to lawbreakers, including those engaged in the ojek online conflict. And the 7th element is final outcome performed in compromise or mutual agreement. For example, ojek online is prohibited from operating or picking up passenger from Garut Terminal, Territorial, etc.